Hello students. In this chapter we had completed two topics, that was about the thermometers, the two different types of thermometers, that is the laboratory thermometer and clinical thermometer. Clinical thermometer was used to check the temperature of a human body, and the laboratory thermometer was used to check the temperature of different objects. Now the next topic in this chapter is transfer of heat. So you must have observed that a frying pan becomes hot when kept on a flame. It is because the heat passes from the flame to the utensils, and when the pan is removed from the fire, it slowly cools down. Why it cools down? Because the heat from the hot pan is transferred to the surrounding. So you can understand that in both cases, the heat flows from a hotter object to a colder object. So, heat flows from a hotter object to a colder object. So, this point in transfer of heat, you have to remember that the heat flows from a hotter object to a colder object. So it is said that in all the cases, heat flows from a hotter object to a colder object. Now let us see how does heat transfer, or how does the heat flow. So the activity is given that take a rod or a flat strip of metal, say of aluminium or iron, fix a few small wax pieces on the rod. So you can see in this picture that they have taken two bricks. They have adjusted the metal stick in between the two bricks, and they have attached small pieces of wax on it. Okay, and then at the other end of the steel rod or the aluminium rod, they have kept a candle, a burning candle. So you can see that the heat is transferred from the candle to this metal rod, and as the heat transfers or flows forward in this on this metal rod, you can see the pieces of wax start melting, right? So what happens to the wax pieces? What do these pieces begin to fall? Which piece falls first? So the piece that is near to the candle will fall first, because that part will get heated first and the wax will get melted. So the process by which heat is transferred from the hotter end, so this is the hotter end, to the colder end of an object is known as conduction. So what is conduction? The process by which heat is transferred from the hotter end to the colder end of an object. So this is clear. The conduction process is clear by this experiment. So if possible, please try to do this experiment at your home. You can take a spoon. Instead of this metal rod, you can take a spoon. You can keep it in between any two objects, any two heavy objects. Between that, you can keep the spoon. And at one end of the spoon, you can keep a burning candle and stick some pieces of wax on this spoon. So you can do that using the spoon also. So what is conduction? It is the process of transfer of heat from hotter end to colder end of an object. So in solids generally so up till now we saw in the solid objects, right? So in the solid objects, heat is transferred by the process of conduction. So in solid, the process of transferring heat from hotter end to colder end in an object is called as conduction. Now, do all substances conduct heat easily? Yes, almost all the other substances also conduct, but there are some objects which do not conduct heat, which do not transfer heat. So, what are they called? And the objects which conduct heat, or you can say which can transfer heat from one place to another, what are those substances called? So they have asked you one more. This is also a very easy activity. What you can do is heat water in a small pan or a beaker. Collect some articles such as which are made up of steel, spoon, plastic, scale, pencil, and divider. Dip one end of these articles as they have shown, one end, and you have to find out that which will in which of these objects you will find the other tip is hot. Okay. So we were on the topic that we were doing on the activity that you have to take a hot water in a container and put different types of materials, that are some are plastic, some is wood, some is steel. So other types of different types of materials you have to put into this hot the beaker or the container that is having hot water. Then you have to touch the other end. So this end of this objects, the other end of the object, not that end which is inside the water, the other end, that is this end of these objects or these materials you have to touch. So what you will feel that this steel spoon will be heated at this place. It will be it will be hot, but this wood and this plastic scale will not be hot on the other end. Why it happens so? Because plastic and wood does not transfer heat from one end to other end, whereas steel transfers heat from one end to other end. So steel, so the objects or the materials which are made up of steel are called conductors because they allow heat to pass through them easily. Okay, examples of metal are aluminum, iron, and copper. Okay, similarly, the materials which do not allow heat to pass through them easily are poor conductors of heat, such as plastic and wood. And poor conductors, these poor conductors are known as insulators. So the materials which allow heat to pass through them are called as conductors, and the materials which do not allow heat to pass through them, they are called as the insulators. Okay, so now we have studied in two mediums. One is solid and other is liquid. In solid, how heat is transferred. In liquid form, how heat is transferred. Okay. Now the water and air are poor conductors of heat. Then how does the heat transfer take place in these substances? So how does the heat transfer takes place in water and air? Okay. Now for that, one experiment is given. What you have to do is take a round bottom flask. So I'll just show you the figure so that it will be very easy for you to understand. So you have to take a flask, put some water in it, and put it on some stand and heat it from the down. So what you will see that the water that is above this flame, that will get heated up first, and that hot water will move up, and the water in the container at the sides are cool. So that water will take place at will take the hot water's place, and the hot water will move up. So this process keeps on continuing. That is, the hot water moves up and cold water takes its place. This process keeps on continuing until the whole water is not get heated. The whole water does not start to get heated. Okay. So what that is only explained here in this, that what you have to do is take a round bottom flask, fill it 2/3 with water, place it on a tripod or a stand, okay, or make some arrangement to place the flask in such a way that you can heat it. Now, how you will heat it? By placing a candle below it. Wait till the water in the flask is still. So water should not be moving, it should be still. Place a crystal of potassium permanganate at the bottom of the flask gently using a straw. Now heat the water by placing the candle just below the crystal. So where you have put the potassium permanganate crystal, below that only you have to put the candle. Now what will happen is, when water is heated, the water near the flame gets hot. As I told you, the water that is near the candle will get hot. That hot water rises up and the cold water from the sides of the container. So there is cold water at the side of the containers because only at the place where candle is there, only that water is getting heated up. The water that is on the sides of the container, that are not getting heated up. So what happens when the water in the center of the container gets heated up? It moves up, the hot water moves up, and the cold water from the sides, they start to take that place of the hot water. So this water also gets hot and rises up, and water from the sides move down. So this process continues till the whole water gets heated. And this mode of heat transfer is known as convection. So in the solid substances, we had studied that the process of transfer of heat is called as conduction. But in water, the process in which the water gets heated up, that is called as convection. Now the next topic that we have is how does heat travel in air? So the air near the heat source gets hot and rises. Okay, so the air that is near, so on the land surface, when the land gets heated up, the air that is near the land surface, the air that gets heated up. So that hot air starts to move up, and in that place of hot air, cool air takes its place. In this way, that cool air also becomes hot because of the heat that is generated by the land. Similarly, so what happens, this is how the air gets heated up. So air near the heat source get hot and rises. The air from the sides come in to take its place. In this way, the air gets heated. Okay, so this is the way how the air gets heated up. That you can see this experiment or this activity, you can see that how the air gets heated up. Okay, so transfer of heat by convection in air. So this you can put your hand, you can light a candle, you can put one hand besides the candle and one hand above the candle. Okay, one hand will be on one side of the candle, another hand will be on the up. So you can feel which hand is getting hot, which hand is getting heated. So notice that towards the top, the air gets heated by convection. Therefore, the hand above the flame feels hot. On the sides, however, there is no convection and air does not feel as hot as at the top. So the hand that is on the side will not feel the heat, but the hand that is on top of the candle will be hot, will feel the heat. The hand will feel the heat. Okay. Now we had seen that how the heat gets transferred in solid, liquid and air. So in solid, the method of transferring of heat from one place to another, one point to another point is called conduction, whereas the transfer of heat which takes place in liquid and air is called as convection. So the people living in the coastal areas means that the people, those who are living near the sea, okay, extreme experience an interesting phenomena. So what is that phenomena? During the day, the land gets heated up. Yes, during the day, as the sun rays are there, so because of the sun's rays, the land gets heated faster than the water. Okay, so during the day, the land gets heated faster than water, and the air over the land becomes hotter and rises up. Okay, so the air that is above, as the land gets heated up, the air that is on the above the land, it becomes hot and it rises up. So what happened when the hot air rises up? The cooler air from the sea, the cooler air, as water is not getting heated up very fast, so the air that is above the water is cold. So that is why what happens is that cool air will rush from the water that is above the water towards the land to take its place. So the warm air from the land moves towards the sea to complete the cycle. So what happens? The air that is above the land gets heated up, it started to rise up and moves towards the sea, whereas the air that is cool and that is above the water, it starts moving towards the land. So the air from the sea is called as sea breeze. So the air, the cool air that is coming from the sea is called as sea breeze. To receive the cooler sea breeze, the windows of the houses in coastal areas are made to face the sea. So mostly the windows are in a direction of the house that are near the coastal areas. They are facing near the sea so that they get cool breeze at the daytime. At night, it is exactly the reverse, because what happens, the water cools down more slowly, okay, than the land. At the night time, what happens, the land gets cool very fast and the water takes time to cool down. So the cool air from the land, so as the land air gets cooled fast, so what happens, the air that is above the land, it moves towards the sea. The cool air that is above the land, that moves towards the sea, and this movement of the land, of the air from the land to the sea, is called as land breeze. So you have to remember it's opposite. Sea breeze means air from the sea is called, the cool air from the sea moves towards the land. That is called as sea breeze. So you have to remember that the when you write sea breeze, you have to remember the air from the sea. Okay, and when you write the land breeze, you have to remember the air from the land. Okay, the air from the land. Land breeze means the air from the land, and sea breeze means the air from the sea. So the cool air from the land moves towards the sea, and this is called the land breeze. So when we come out in the sun, we feel warm. How does the heat from the sun reach us? It cannot reach us by conduction or convection, as there is no medium such as air in most part of the space. We know that in space there is no air between the earth and the sun. So from the sun, the heat comes to us by another process called known as radiation. So the heat from the sun rays does not reach to us through the process of convection or conduction. It is through radiation. So what is radiation? The transfer of heat by radiation does not require any medium. As for other transfer, we require a medium, right? Water, solid, or air. But for radiation, the transferring of heat by radiation process, no medium is required. It can take place whether a medium is present or not. So when we sit in front of a room heater, we get heat by this process. So a hot utensil kept away from the flame cools down as it transfers heat to the surroundings by radiation. So our body too gives heat to the surrounding and receives heat from it by radiation. These are the different examples how the heat transfers through radiation. All hot bodies radiate heat. When this heat falls on some object, a part of it is reflected, a part of it is absorbed, and a part may be transmitted. Okay, some falls on the object, other is reflected, others some part of the heat is absorbed, and the other may be transmitted to some other place. So the temperature of the object increases due to the absorbed part of the heat. So if the object absorbs more heat, then the object gets more hotter. Okay. So why are you advised to use an umbrella when you go out in the sun? Yes, so this is what why we are, because when you use an umbrella, the heat is absorbed or reflected. Some is absorbed, some is reflected by the umbrella. So you will not feel that much hot in the direct sun. If you stand in the direct sun without an umbrella, the heat is more. Whereas if you hold an umbrella in front on top of your head, then some of the heat of the sun is absorbed by the umbrella, some is reflected, and some is transmitted. So you don't feel that much heat when you're holding an umbrella above your head. So in this figure, you can see that there is shown, as we had discussed about the sea breeze and the land breeze. We'll just go through this picture. So in the daytime, you can see the cool water, the cool air moves from sea to the land. But at the night time, the same air which is cool that moves from the land to the sea. Okay, so the same thing they have explained here in the next uh, picture also. So, our last topic in this chapter is kinds of clothes we wear in summer and winter. So, you know that in summer we prefer light colored clothes, right? In summer we try to wear light colored clothes, and in winter we usually wear dark colored clothes. Why is it so? Why do we wear such type of clothes in winters? Different types of clothes in winter and different types of clothes in summer. So what you have to do is take two identical tin cans, paint the outer surface of one black and the other white. Pour equal amount of water in each and leave them in the midday sun for about an hour. Okay, so you have to take two cans and a steel cans. Okay, you have to take two steel cans, and then what you have to do is you have to paint one with black color and other with white color, and pour water inside it. Equal amount of water you have to pour and keep it in the sun for about an hour. Now measure the temperature of water. So what will you find? The can which you had painted black, its temperature will be high compared to the can which you painted white. Why it is so? Because the dark colored things absorb more heat compared to the light color. Okay, so you can feel the difference even by touching water in the two cans. If you dip your hand inside the water in the cans, you'll find the difference, which is hot and which is what is the temperature difference between the two between the water in two different cans. Now fill the two cans used in with the same amount of hot water at the same temperature. Leave the cans in a room or in a shade. Note the temperature of water after 10 to 15 minutes. So does the temperature of water in both the cans fall by the same amount? So this activity shows what? That you suggest the reason why it is more comfortable to wear light or white colored clothes in the summer and dark colored. Why? Because as I told you, dark surfaces absorb more heat and therefore we feel comfortable with dark colored clothes in winter, whereas light colored clothes reflect, so they reflect most of the heat that falls on them, and therefore we feel more comfortable wearing them in summer season. So dark color clothes absorb heat and light color clothes reflect heat. So woolen clothes keep us warm in winter. So in the winter season we use woolen clothes because wool is a poor conductor of heat. Moreover, we had seen in the third chapter that air is trapped in between the woolen fibers, right? So this air prevents the flow of heat from our body to the cold surroundings. So that is also a reason that we feel warm. Suppose you are given the choice in the winter of using either one thick blanket or two thin blankets joined together. So, what would you choose and why? So, remember that there would be a layer of air in between the blankets. So, in between the blankets, there's a layer of air. So, what happens is the heat will not be able to transfer, and that is why if you take one thick blanket, that's also fine, and if you take two thin blankets, that's also fine. Any one you can choose because there is a layer of air in between the blankets. Okay, so hope you all have understood the whole chapter clearly. In this chapter there were topics of thermometer, which was used to measure temperature. We learned about two thermometers, one is clinical and one is laboratory thermometer. Then we learned how the transfer of heat occurs in solid, liquid, and air. Okay, and in air we studied two more topics, that is sea breeze and land breeze. That is, in the daytime sea breeze occurs and in the night time land breeze occurs. Okay, in the coastal areas, mostly it is in the coastal areas. Okay, then we saw the last topic about why do we wear light colored clothes in summer season and dark colored clothes in winter season. Because light color reflects the heat and the dark color absorbs the heat. So hope you all have understood the chapter clearly.